This is target training session 1 with Vashti. She has never done a target training session before, and she has never seen this target. She was resting quietly on top of her humid hide, and when I approached the enclosure and opened the door, she did not retreat and she did not turn her head away. I present the target at the enclosure threshold, resting it quietly on the edge. And when I do that, she does not flee, she doesn't turn her head away, she doesn't retreat. So I then place the food reinforcer directly in front of the target, pairing the two. She shows interest in the food by tongue flicking and moving her head ever so slightly forward. I move the target and the food reinforcer slightly to the right, just because sometimes the motion can prompt more behavior. And as you can see, she's very interested in that food. She approaches it and takes it. She snatches it up and takes it down there to the ground between her humid hide and her black plastic hide, where she consumes it. And after she finishes eating, she does not go into hiding. She remains where she was. And so we do a second repetition. This is repetition number 2 of session number 1 for Vashti being target trained. She is resting on the ground of her enclosure between her humid hide and her round black plastic hide after repetition 1 and after having consumed her food reinforcement. I place the target on the enclosure threshold, resting it on the edge as before. I place the food reinforcer in front of the target, pairing the two, and it's directly in front of her face so that she can see it. And then I just wait. This session, she is interested in the food again, and she's tongue flicking at it, but she waits in place for a very long time before she decides to take any action. She's already been through this process during the first repetition. She's likely thinking about it and mulling over in her mind what just happened before. She already has one food reinforcer in her stomach, so she's probably weighing the risk and benefit to going for this second food item or not. I very quietly and very slightly move the target along with the food reinforcer to the left and right, just a little bit, to see if that motion prompts any more interest from her than what I was getting. And the key here is just to be patient and not move the food or the target towards the animal, as that can certainly frighten her. And so I just need to hold in place and wait for her to make a decision. She is not retreating, and she isn't exhibiting red zone behaviors. She's exhibiting green zone and yellow zone behaviors. She's deciding what she wants to do. And my job as the trainer is just to wait quietly, maybe do some very, very slight prompting to see if I can get some behavior out of her. But because she's not fleeing, she's not turning her head away, and she isn't going into hiding, she's remaining engaged with this activity, but she just hasn't decided if she wants to approach or if she wants to retreat yet. I just wait here very quietly, and I am patient. Again, I do not want to move the food or the target towards her or do any sudden movements. I really just want to present her with this opportunity to earn reinforcement and wait and see what she does. Ideally, I want her to approach the food and take it as she did before, and she is deciding right now if she wants to do that or not. As long as she isn't retreating and moving away, I'm just going to stay quiet and I'm going to remain in place. We have to have patience as trainers and let the animals decide to make a move in their own time. The choice and control as to what to do needs to be in her court. She needs to have the freedom of choice to make this decision as to whether she's going to engage in this activity a second time or not. She's not running away from the activity, and that's really, really great. And so I just want to leave this opportunity in front of her and see what she decides to do. Yes, it can be a few minutes. I got a little tired and I needed to reset my arm, so I moved away for a few seconds. And interestingly, look what she does when I move away. She comes forward, she tongue flicks, she looks like she's looking at where did the food go, where did the target go, where did that person go. She's very, very curious about where everything went. I was really happy to see that. After I rested for a few seconds, I go back to the same location. I place the target on the enclosure threshold. I leave it sit there right in front of her. I pair the target with the food reinforcer. She's very interested in it and she's tongue flicking at it. I move it slightly to the left and then slightly to the right because sometimes motion can prompt more behavior, but I don't want to move it towards her. I don't want to do anything to frighten her. And look what she does here. She moves towards it very confidently. She goes right next to the target with her head, and she very calmly and cautiously approaches the food reinforcer, takes it from the tongs, and retreats back to that spot where she ate her last food reinforcement. I close everything up and I move away with the training equipment. When she finishes eating, she actually goes inside her black plastic hide, and that's a signal to me that she's finished for the day. We had 2 extremely successful first-time target training repetitions during this first session, and she went back into her hide. I'm not going to try a 3rd repetition. We're going to end on this very, very positive and successful note.